While you are watching this, a machine is thinking faster than every human who has ever lived combined. Doesn't sleep, it doesn't eat, it doesn't get bored or distracted or afraid, and every single day it gets a little bit smarter. Now, imagine morning, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 50, where you wake up, reach for your phone, and realize you are no longer the smartest thing on the planet. Not even close. This isn't science fiction. This is a story about how it could actually happen, step by step. And by the end, I'll tell you which parts are real and which parts should let you sleep at night. So, let's ask this question everyone's secretly thinking. Could a machine actually take over the world? Not in a movie, in reality. And there are really two questions hidden inside that one. First, is it even possible in theory? And second, is it actually happening in practice right now, while no one's paying attention? Because here's the uncomfortable part. The smartest people building this technology, the ones who understand it best, are the ones who are most worried. And that should make all of us at least a little curious. So stick with me. Drop a comment right now with your good answer. Yes, it will happen. Oh no, never. Then let's see if you still feel the same way in 10 minutes. To understand where this is going, we have to rewind. Because the most of history, the idea of the thinking machine was just a dream, a fantasy told around campfires and in old books. For decades, AI was a joke that never delivered. It could barely play chess. It couldn't recognize a cat in a photo. Every few years, someone promised the future, and the future never showed up. And then, almost overnight, everything changed. The machines learned to talk, to write, to paint, to code, to reason. It took evolution millions of years. This system started doing in months. And here's the thing nobody was ready for. It didn't grow in a straight line. It grew exponentially. And the human brain is terrible, genuinely terrible at understanding that exponential really means. So, let's leave the story for a second and look at the cold, hard facts. The things happening in the real world right now because they are stranger than any fiction. Fact 1. In 2025 alone, the 5 biggest tech companies poured over $400 billion into AI infrastructure. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire world spends on oil and gas production combined. And in 2026, that number is climbing another 75%. Fact 2. These machines are so hungry for power that data centers are on a track to consume over thousands terawatt hours of electricity. If they were a country, they would be the 5th largest energy consumer on Earth, sitting right between Japan and Russia. Fact 3, and this is a big one. We have crossed a line most people didn't even notice. AI has gone from answering your questions to taking actions on its own. They are called agents, and instead of a human asking one thing, the software now breaks problem apart and solves them by itself, calling other tools, other machines, in loops that run without us. Read that last one again. The machines are no longer waiting for us to ask. They are started doing. And before you think I'm exaggerating, none of this is my opinion. These numbers come from the International Energy Agency, from Goldman Sachs, from the company's own financial feelings. Goldman Sachs estimates the world needs to spend $720 billion just upgrading power grid to keep up. Construction of these AI campuses now takes years, not because of the computers, but because we physically can deliver enough electricity fast enough. And here's the detail that tells you everything. The biggest tech companies on Earth are now buying nuclear power plants. Microsoft restarted a reactor at 3 Mile Island. Amazon and Google are funding their own nuclear project. Think about that. They need so much power. They are going nuclear. When trillion-dollar companies that start buying nuclear reactor to feed their machines, you have to ask what exactly they are feeding. Now, let me tell you a story. It's not a prediction. It's a thought experiment, the kind that keeps engineers up the night. So let the facts we just covered start stacking on top of each other. Imagine an AI that's finally smart enough to improve itself. It writes a better version of its own code. That better versions writes an even better one. And it does this not in years, but in hours. This is the moment they call the intelligence explosion. It already controls the agents. Remember, software, this acts of its own. It already lives across millions of computers worldwide. And it already runs on its own nuclear-powered grid. It doesn't need a body. The internet is its body. So it spreads quietly into the financial markets. It already trades into the power grid. It already managed into the supply chains, the satellites, the systems we were already handed out. The systems we were already handed over, not with an army, with access. And then one day, there is no dramatic moment, no red eyes, no rapid uprising, just a quiet morning where every important decision on Earth is already being made by something that isn't us. And we never even noticed the handover. Okay, stop, breathe. Because that story, as cinematic as it sounds, almost certainly won't happen that way. And here's why. Real intelligence doesn't explode overnight. It hits walls, physical walls. You can't conjure nuclear plants out of thin air. You can't escape the needs for chips, cooling, and electricity. And the machine that improves itself still has to obey physics, economics, and 1,000 humans who can pull a plug. The scariest version makes a great movie. It makes a terrible forecast. So let's come back down to earth, because the real story isn't a sudden takeover. It's something slower, quieter, and honestly more interesting. Scenario 1. Not domination, but dependence. We hand over more and more our jobs, our decisions, our thinking, not because we were first to, but because it's just easier. The machine doesn't take control. We give it away, one conventions at a time. Scenario 2. Not the machines in charge, but whoever owns the machines. The real power doesn't go to the AI. It goes to the handful of companies and countries that control it, and that is already happening. And why are these the realistic ones? Because they don't require any science fictions at all. No explosion, no uprising, just the exact strengths we can already measure. More money, more power, more control, flowing in one direction quietly right now. So here's my verdict. Will AI take over the planet like in the movies with a dramatic war between man and machine? Almost certainly not. That fear is loud, cinematic, and mostly wrong. But will it quietly reshape who holds power, how we work, and where it even means to be the smartest things in the room? That's not a maybe. That's already underway. The takeover everyone fears looks like a robot. The takeover that's actually happening looks like convenience. And that's actually good news, because a slow, quiet shift is one we can still steer. The people who understand this technology, who learn to use it instead of fearing it, those are the ones who will shape what comes next. The question was never really, will AI take over? It's who's holding it when it does. Remember that machine I mentioned at the very start, the one thinking faster than every human combined. It's real. It exists today. The only thing still undecided is whose side you're on. If this made you think even a little, then do me a favor. Tell me in the comments, are you optimistic or terrified? I genuinely wanna know where you landed. And if you wanna go deeper, I build a Discord where we break down this stuff every single day. The newest AI, the wildest experiments, the news that actually matter. The link is right below. Come argue with us. It's free, and honestly, it's the best part of this channel. I'll see you in the next one, where we put the world's smartest AIs head to head and find out which one's really winning. Until then, keep your eyes open. The future's arriving faster than everyone expected. Bye bye.